Hi everybody, I'm Phil, and thanks for riding with me. I'm on my way to Weirton, West Virginia, to see my new baby granddaughter. Yep, she was born, well, at the time of this recording, she was born almost exactly 5 days ago, 4.5 days ago. She was born in, late evening. My oldest daughter's daughter, and she lives an hour away, roughly an hour. So I thought it'd be a good time to spend some time talking, but here's the thing, I got to go on the interstate. It just doesn't work real well on the interstate. Lots of road noise, even on Route 7 and then Route 22. There's going to be a lot of noise, so probably going to make this a two-parter, like me driving out there and then driving back, because I'm only going to record when there's not going to be a lot of road noise. So it'll be patchy, but that's okay. Do you know why we have standards? It's funny, in the Bible, people always ask, what's a cubit? Well, it's this distance here, from your elbow to your wrist. That's a cubit. And as you know, that can be different for everybody. So at some point, people decided to start making standards, and over time different countries adopted different standards, and at one point the whole world adopted the metric system, well, except for the United States. I was in second grade, I'll never forget. Let's see, that was probably 1978, and they had this little blue cylinder box with white letters that said metric. And inside the box, the little cylinder, they had a centimeter tape measure. They had a little graduated cylinder for measuring liquids. They had little weights to measure grams. The teacher was telling us the whole world's adopting the metric system, and the United States is finally going to do it too. And that was 48 years ago, and I still measure inches, pounds, fluid ounces. We did a real good job of that, didn't we? I love that Saturday Night Live skit about how we're gonna measure things. It's hilarious. I gotta get on the highway here. Well, I'm off the highway now. Not sure what Route 7 is going to sound like, but we'll give it a try. And we were talking about standards. I followed a Jeep that had what I think were headlights on the back of the Jeep. At first I thought it was coming at me or driving backwards on the highway, and it was bright too, and I'm sure it's very illegal. In fact, he stepped on the brakes one time. I barely saw the brakes because these lights were so bright coming in my face. It was annoying and most certainly illegal. I'll have to ask my son about that one. But maybe he had them on because of the smoke from the Canadian wildfire. I don't know. I bet he gets pulled over though before it's over. But anyway, the thing about standards is, when it comes to electric and plumbing, they don't necessarily call it a standard, they call it code. You might hear someone say, that's not up to code. Well, it doesn't meet certain standards. And the reason we have those is so that there's protection, it's for safety, and for protection of your home. You don't want to start a fire or cause a flood. But I gotta tell you, man, I hate plumbing. If there's a plumbing issue, I can usually fix it, but not after I overcomplicate it and make it harder to fix and have to fix more than one thing. And I don't know why that is. Well, I know why at the house I live in now. It's because someone didn't follow the standard, didn't follow the code. So I've had all kinds of plumbing issues lately at my house. Just too many to talk about. But the most recent one here, saw water coming out from the sink one night, like dripping out from the cupboard underneath the sink. And when I got down there and looked underneath, I can't believe that traffic light, only one truck got through. I don't know how that happened. Anyway, sitting, I stick my head down there and I could tell immediately the tailpipe from the sink drain came off. And at first I didn't know why, but then when I looked the next morning, I realized that the brass nut that holds it on had just rusted and it broke off. It's probably that old. Well, I had to replace that. I couldn't find one of those nuts. I found a slip joint nut, not the same thing. You got to get a nut that is a sink drain nut, a brass nut. I had to actually buy a whole entire sink drain kit just to get that nut. And anyway, I got it fixed. It was 3 weeks later, maybe. Massive flood coming from the sink. When I get down there, I look, the pipe that goes down into the floor was completely separated. I don't know how that happened. Probably bumping around when I was fixing the tailpipe. I don't know. And I knew that the pipes were dirty too. That tailpipe was filthy. I had to clean it out. So I knew the rest of the pipes were probably dirty, sludge and such. And we had a smell, and it was because the tailpipe broke off and gases were coming up. I guess I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just a mildew or something from the being wet. I don't know. But anyway, because it probably was just slowly leaking over time before it broke. So I get down there and I'm like, who put this convoluted thing together? It wasn't up to code. And at one point there was a water softener in there and I took that thing out. There was a well, it rusted out. That caused another leak. It rusted the bottom of the bladder for the water softener, so that you could have pressure for the water coming out from the softener fountain. Anyway, it rusted out, and I had to take that thing out a few years ago. So I had all the lines turned off. I just hadn't taken the softener out. Well, I'm messing around down there trying to get it back together, and I'm like, this thing just isn't fitting together well. And the pipes are dirty. I'm just going to replace them all. So I go to Lowe's, and I can't get the standard bag because it wasn't a standard setup. There were traps going everywhere. I don't even want to know who put that garbage disposal in. That was a huge mess. First thing was the electric is just wire nutted together out in the open, not inside a junction box. Anyway, messing around trying to get those pipes back together, and the garbage disposal falls off. I said, that's it. I don't like this thing anyway. So I took the garbage disposal out, went back to Lowe's, got some more pipes that I needed to make, like a 90 coming out of the drain, go to a T, put in a trap, down the drain. No problem, right? Works great. Except that, I had to put in a new drain. So I put in a new drain, and I'm looking at the drains. I'm like, this old drain? You can tell it's old. It was ugly. So, of course, to make them look the same, I had to go back and get another drain. I haven't put it in yet. But hey, at least I know how to put a drain in now. It was actually pretty easy. So I got that all, kitchen sink all taken care of. I was cleaning up the bathroom in the basement, same day, mind you, and I leaned against the toilet to get something behind the toilet, and the whole toilet just popped up. So how the heck did that happen? Well, apparently when I put this toilet in, because I did it myself, and I had to put a raised plywood, they had a flush, I don't know what that thing's called, the thing that your toilet sits on, the flange. They had a flush one, a metal one, an aluminum one, and then they had the bolts actually cemented into the floor. So they put this toilet in when they put the house in, when they put the basement floor in. So I had to cut those off. I put in a plastic one, and I realized now I got to have a piece of plywood to raise it up because it wouldn't sit level. So that was all good. Well, now this part's my fault. When I put that flange in, I put masonry screws into the floor. I did it right, know what I'm doing, except I didn't put it in the other side. So eventually over time, that flange went from being flat to it tipped up like that, and that's why I was getting movement in my toilet. And so I had to, drill another hole, get that flange seated real well, got it back on the plywood. I got everything back together. I was really happy. I said, this thing's not going anywhere. I even forcefully pushed on it to see if I could get it to pop out. It wasn't going anywhere. It was seated right to code. But, yeah, I don't have my hat on. I don't care. Here, I'll put my hat on and my glasses. Play the part. There we go. So, get that all together, start putting a water line on, something didn't feel right. So I backed it off, tried to put it on again, it starts going on. I hand tightened it, turned it on, sprayed all over me, turned it off. I had put Teflon tape on too. Okay, tightened it a little more, and all of a sudden I hear a crack. At this point, I don't know if I cracked the toilet base, the porcelain, or if I cracked the plunger thing inside. I think it was probably just the plunger thing inside, because it started spinning when I tried to take the water line off. That's where it's at right now. That's where I'm leaving it for a couple days, because I'm going to get to see my grandkids. I get to see my granddaughter tonight, my 2 grandsons tomorrow. Life is good. My grandson turns 1 today, birthday party tomorrow. But by the time you are hearing this, that'll be long past, and hopefully I'll have my toilet fixed by then. But anyway, this isn't the first time I had this issue. In my bathroom, I replaced a vanity. Tried to put the plumbing back together, and this doesn't fit because it's not standard. It's not up to code. I actually had to get a piece of flex pipe to make that thing work, because whoever put it in did not do it right. Now, I'm not saying I'm an expert and I know what I'm doing and any of that, but I am saying don't make it hard for the next person. No. That's why we have standards. For protection, to make it easy for the next guy, and so someone can come in and know exactly how to fix something. Now, I don't know whether I should tell you, I'm trying to put, the toilet downstairs, I want to make it into a bathroom. It's a Pittsburgh toilet. You know what a Pittsburgh toilet is? A Pittsburgh toilet is just a toilet sitting out in the middle of nowhere. When I first time I ever went into this house, and we're looking around, see if we want to buy it, I'm thinking, it's a nice house. There's a toilet under the stairs. No walls anywhere. Just a toilet sitting under the stairs. It's called a Pittsburgh toilet. I'm sure there's more meaning behind that, but I have no idea what that is. So, I put some walls up for privacy. That's been there pretty much since we moved in 12 years ago. But now I want to finish it off. I want to put a sink in there. I got a sink, I got a faucet, I got to run the water lines. That's not a problem for me. I'll just tie into the existing PEX. We had to get our lines repaired. I wasn't quite comfortable doing it. In hindsight, I could have, but one of our, I don't know what they call that. It starts with a T. It's basically like shark bite, but it's not shark bite, where you push it together and it locks in. The old style that locked in on PVC. But anyway, I had to get that replaced, and I put in some PEX, replaced all the lines with PEX. So I can tie into the middle of that. I can put a T in it for the water lines. Not an issue. Just don't know when I'm going to do it. I think I'm coming up on my friend here. It's a big Ford van. I'm going to see if it's him. He might not recognize me if it is him, but I'm going to see if it's him. Oh, it's his wife. Yep, I'm not going to say anything to her. I'm just going to keep going by. Oh wait, that might not even have been her. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember if he has. I think he's got a Ford. That might have been her. Beside the point. So, you know, can you imagine if tires weren't standard on a car? I mean, I know there's different sizes of tires. But can you imagine, like, if a 275R 1570 was actually sometimes it's a 69, sometimes it's a 71.5. Can you imagine if there wasn't a standard for that? You'd be kind of leaning a little bit, or you'd be going boom, 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 boom. Which reminds me, I got to get my bike tire checked out. I think my rim might be bent because of that wobbling noise I heard. Anyway, what else can we talk? Oh, yeah, this smoke. This is something, man. It's I'm sure you probably can't see it. If I turned the camera forward, you could see it. Smoke from a Canadian wildfire. We had this problem 2 or 3 years ago. I think it came from California at that time. But somewhere in Canada, blowing all down into the upper Midwest, and now it's working its way into Virginia, even, and North Carolina, and New York. Probably hitting some of the southern New England states. It's pretty wild. It's like heavy haze, but in some areas it's even heavier. But the thing is, it makes it hard to breathe outside. It's kind of crazy. So that should give you an indication of when I recorded this video. So, thing about grandchildren, I was thinking about this today, you know. I remember when I was raising my children, when my children were born, and the joy my parents must have had to have a grandchild. Actually, it's my daughter, the one who I'm going to see. My granddaughter is my first granddaughter. My third grandchild is my oldest daughter. So she was the first grandchild from my parents. And I was just thinking how they must have felt because of the way I feel. Can't wait to see her. Of course, she's adorable. But then I think about my kids, like when I first had a child. And how I felt. I'll tell you what, when you go over a bridge, that road noise is just unbearable. crazy. But how I felt when I first had a child, and you don't want to break them, and oh my gosh, I can't even see the smokestack from Brilliant. I'm going to turn this around, let you guys see this. Let's do this for now, for the rest of this ride. All right, here you go. We're past the Brilliant plant, but you can see some of the smoke still that we're dealing with. It's pretty thick up here. It's actually pretty dangerous. I don't remember. 384. I think the air quality at home was 384, which is higher than it was last night. The area where my youngest daughter lives, air quality was over 500. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, but I know the number, higher the number, the worse it is. So over 500 is pretty significantly bad. You certainly don't want to be outside in this. I'm glad it's only temporary. Can you imagine if we had to live like this every day? I mean, our bodies would adapt. Our bodies adapt to everything. But it might take a while to adapt to it. People would start dying, that's for sure. Worse than COVID. Speaking of adapting, I want to tell you a little story about my daughter, the one I'm going to see. So she was born, everything seemed perfectly normal, no problems. Everything seemed perfectly normal and no problems. She went to all our pediatrician appointments. There were never any issues. We had a second child, a son. He had strabismus, which is an issue with his eyes. Basically, his eyes weren't lined up exactly the same. And he had 3 surgeries. That was grueling. I mean, like half-hour, 45-minute surgeries. But let me tell you, when that's your child, that's grueling. That's hard. Scary. But then, along comes Julia. She's about 5 or 6 months old. Doctor says something's just not right. She's got a little heart murmur. And so we go to the pediatrician at WVU. And the guy says, "Did you pack a bag?" And we're like, "No, we didn't think we were staying. She's just got a murmur." "Oh, no, she has more than a murmur. She has a co-arc." Like, what the heck is a co-arc? Well, basically, if you let water come out of a hose, it comes out pretty fast on full blast. If you were to kink it, it would still come out, just kind of dribbling a little bit, not coming out full blast. That's basically what a co-arc is. It's a kink in your aorta that causes your blood flow to lessen, and we were told that if it's not found, children don't usually live past 2 or 3 years old if it's not found. So Julia, 5 or 6 months old, has surgery to repair a co-arc. And as my grandchildren were 5 and 6 months old, I'd look back on that and think, wow, how did I get through that? Well, I know God got me through it, but fast forward a little bit, Julia's 6 or 7 years old. Can't remember now. I think she just turned 7, I believe. That murmur had to be taken care of. There's all kinds of issues going on in her heart. Basically, she had to have open heart surgery. So that was between my 3 kids, that was the 5th surgery. 3 for Brandon, that was her 2nd. 1 through her back, and then her open heart surgery down the front. It's a pretty serious time. I mean, have all those surgeries within just a couple years, because Brandon's only 2 years older than Julia. And everything was fine until we get to Caitlin's in high school, wants to play golf, wants to be on the golf team. She's got to get a physical. They can't get blood pressure in her left arm. And we knew immediately what that meant, because that's what they said about Julia. So Caitlin goes to the pediatrician at WVU. And guess what happens? She has a coarctation of the aorta. And yes, you probably can guess the question we asked. I thought children didn't live past 2 to 3 years old when they had a coarctation like that. A kink in the aorta. Same exact place as Julia. Same thing. Only this time they can't fix hers the way they fixed Julia's. Oh man, I thought I was having a bad day. Whew. That trailer was destroyed. Wow, okay, anyway. You see, because they do an MRI on Caitlin, on her heart, and what do they find? That her body has adapted to this thing. It's grown arteries out from the coarctation, like at the beginning of it, and go down and connect back to her aorta, making its own way for blood flow. Now, unfortunately for Caitlin, it affected her gut region because it was a little bit lower. And she's had some issues with that, but she's doing pretty good. But anyway, they did a study on her because it was so unusual to be 15 years old and have coarc surgery. But they did go in through the back, just like they did with Julia. They both have scars along their shoulder blades on the left side. And they repaired it, but they didn't repair it the same way they did Julia's. They were worried about bleeding if they cut all those arteries. So basically they cut out above it and below it and put in a piece of Gore-Tex. Yeah, like the gloves. I'm not kidding. And she was told that if you ever have children, first she was told she wouldn't be able to have children. Then they decided, well, you can have children, but you're going to have a C-section because you can't push. It could burst that repair and you would bleed out. So, you know, that's hard on a 15-year-old girl, you know? Really hard on her. And she did well. She went through school, went to pharmacy school. And then she gets married, and not even a year later, she gets pregnant. And first thing I was worried about was, oh no, is she going to have a C-section? She didn't really want to. But in the end, the doctor talked her into having a C-section. And now oh my gosh, this is confusing. This road, they're paving the road. I can't tell where the lines are. Somebody abandoned his wheelchair over there. Maybe the battery died. I don't know. Maybe he just got up and walked. That would be something. Hope he's okay. Yeah, sorry, buddy. You're going to have to go on the other side. That road noise on that side, where I think they've knurled the road when we were getting ready to resurface it. And it's smoother on this side. Plus, I'm going to turn left up here anyway. So I'm riding in this left lane. Go around me. Sorry if I'm not going fast enough. So Caitlin had a C-section. And baby has arrived. And I get to go see her tonight. Yeah, I'm excited.